Good morning. This is Todd. I'm Todd and Katye Anna. We are on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. And this is Conscious Creating with Katye Anna and Todd. Thank you for joining us on our first show together. And thank you for allowing us to share our consciousness with you all, wherever you are joining in from. And whatever time it is you are joining in, we are so grateful and blessed to be with you today. This has been a while in the making of Katye and I discussing many issues, and after we have these wonderful discussions, have said, "Wow, this would be great to put on the air and let other people join in." And through our guides and angels and spirits and teachers, I'll let Katye speak about that. We have arrived to join you live or recording whenever you join us so that we can be with you and you can be with us and we can remember as one together. Good morning, my dear friend Katye.
Good morning. This is exciting. As you said, this is a long time coming. Yeah, looking forward to it. Do you want to start us off with just a couple deep breaths to get everybody centered, including ourselves?
I would Yes, thank you for asking. I would love to. I would just like to briefly comment um, about how important breath work is in spirituality, in our overall health during the day, psychologically, physically. It calms down the ego mind, the monkey mind. It brings us into the sympathetic nervous system, which calms us down, takes us out of the parasympathetic nervous system. Um, do I have that backwards? I'm a little nervous. I do have that backwards. But anyway, it's a wonderful way to calm down and connect and centered and open ourselves up. Katye, you might agree to source and messages. So I'm going to just guide us into a quick breath process of settling down your eyes and relax the eyes and take a gentle swallow and let your tongue fall gently in your mouth and reconnect to your breath and start taking a couple of elongated inhales through the nose and exhales through the mouth with your lips gently parted. And you will notice an immediate change and calming down as you do this. And as you are reconnecting with your breath, I just want to offer a gentle reminder of what a gift the breath is, that it is with us all the time. Of course, we don't recognize it, sometimes don't appreciate it in the present moment all the time because we are caught in this illusion of reality that we think is what's going on for us. And as we return to the breath, we return to our true source, our true nature, our guides, and become more open and calm, and just helps us be less reactive uh, and open to living a more balanced, conscious life. So I'll just be quiet for a couple seconds for a few more breaths. as we ask our guides, angels, teachers, spirits, masters, the universe, planet, cosmos, and beyond, to join all of us today in helping us remember our true nature, our oneness, as we open to share with you and everyone. Thank you. Katie, would you like to open up with a little bio about yourself?
Little bio about myself. All right. Well, I'm Katye Anna, and most of my teachers come from the spirit world. I had a soul reconnection when I was 38 years old. A soul realignment is a stop sign and evaluate your life. And that's when I really went onto a spiritual journey, trying to figure out this world. Up until I was 38, I never questioned anything. Did you grow up questioning? Because I didn't. What about you, Todd? I mean, I believed everything I was told when I was a kid. The sky was blue, the sun was yellow, this was right, this was wrong, this was good, this was bad. Until I was 38 years old, I didn't question anything. And then I had this soul realignment. Some people call it a soul boot. And I went away to rehab for 30 days. I left family and everything I knew. And the floodgates opened. And I started communicating like I did when I was a kid with the world of spirit. I mean, when I was a little girl, the world was full of color and magic. And I could see angels. Angels were my best friends, until I was about 9 or 10 years old. And then, like a lot of kids, the outer world took over until I was 38 and had that soul realignment. Started questioning, started knowing that the religion that I grew up with no longer fit for me. Didn't know what did. But I just was so connected again to at that time I thought it was angels because I didn't know much about the soul. I thought the soul was something to be saved. And now I know very different. The soul is something that wants to express itself through my embodiment. When you were talking about the breath, I believe that, and I teach that when we're born with that first breath, the consciousness of this incarnated soul begins. I'm an incarnated soul. I didn't know that up until I was 38, 40 years old. I saw myself as a human being. Everything was black and white. But when I had the soul realignment and the color came back into my life, a couple years later, I found Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. You're a Reiki person. And I believe everybody on the planet should be attuned to Reiki. And from the very first time I gave my Reiki session, the angels started popping in. They just were a part of everything I started doing. So now when I give readings, the angels, pop in and tell me where to go, what chakra to read. I started learning about chakras. Unlike you, Todd, I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of physical teachers. My teachers are Draw Cool, Master Draw Cool, Jesus, Saint Germain. In my dream time, I continue to go out to a different dimension and learn. All the books that I've written, I started writing books in 2013, published the first one, Conscious Construction of the Soul, in 2014. And all my books are written. I wake up and I have the book. The book is there. It's there. I can see the cover, and all I have to do is tape it down. And so since that's soul realignment, that soul boot, I've come on to this journey, and I love this planet. You know, I know there's a lot going on. I teach about the unraveling, and we're going through the unraveling, and anything that's not in alignment with love, it is going to fall apart. And 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 yet we're also going through the awakening. Beautiful things are happening. People are waking up. People are questioning. And so I just look forward to these conversations with you. I want to let everybody know, Todd and I've never met in the physical. I think we've been
In the
talking
personal.
in personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
um you know I think we've been talking maybe 3 years on and off.
Longer. Longer.
Longer. Okay. And when I
Yeah.
first met Todd,
Pre-COVID. Sure.
when I first quote read Todd, I was like, "Oh, this is someone I've known in many lifetimes," And um, my Stephen, who was alive at the time, heard me talking to Todd and said, "How long have you two known each other?" And I said, "We've never met." And he's like, "What?" He said, "Well, you know each other." And I said, "No kidding." So Todd was someone who was I've traveled with before. And so I'm so excited to share this journey with you. And I just want to take one moment. My son Lloyd birthed in the spirit on December 5th, 2023, and he wanted me to do this for such a long time. So I really dedicate this show to him. So Lloyd, I know you're listening, and thank you for the love and support. So Todd, tell us about you, because your journey has been very different than mine. You have a lot of teachers. Todd is what I call a scholar. He's a scholar. He loves information, and as you're going to see when we discuss things, we don't always agree. So go ahead, Todd. Tell us a little bit about you.
I will, and thank you for that. I just want to point out, Katie, your books are available on Amazon, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Under
They love
Katye
them.
Anna?
KatyeAnna.com, but they can just put in Katye Anna and it'll pop up. They're also on my website, KatyeAnna.com.
Okay. And before we go to me, just quickly, can you explain the difference between your Katye Anna guides and your general
Oh,
intuition
okay.
guide, please?
My name is Katie, and I go by Katye Anna because Anna is a group of souls that I share a steady stream of consciousness with. There are over 1,000 of them, and they're no longer on the reincarnation cycle, but they love us dearly and want to teach. And I was one of those people. Todd and I were having this conversation yesterday about channeling. I was one of those people that said, never going to happen. And in November of 2013, I woke up and I knew it was going to happen, because this group was always a voice in my head. But on that day, I had an appointment, and I asked the client, "Can we do this by phone?" Nope. And I said to my husband, "I need you to be at this appointment." And Anna came forth, and when Anna comes out, there's a different voice, and I just wish I could convey the love that they feel. So we're going to be introducing Anna, probably not today, but definitely next week. Um, Todd's going to have a conversation with Anna. Um, but Anna is just this beautiful group of soul that have a wealth of information to offer us. They give us the three spiritual keys. They give us a lot of teachings, and everything that I teach is from Anna. Yeah. So that's basically Anna, Katye Anna. My name's Katie, and then the group to me is known as Anna.
Thank you for that. But you also get intuition, just genuine intuition, just through other guides and like archangels and
Yeah. Mhm.
things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm writing a new book, Come to the Garden, and it's a story about my relationship with Jesus. So even Jesus pops in.
The enlightened master, not
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jesus, the avatar, the enlightened master. We
Yeah.
just want to make sure we will sometimes speak in religious or Christic terminology. We are not speaking about dogma or religion per se, or not taking a position on that. We do not want to offend anybody. We believe this is part of our own obstacles from our beliefs and programming in Judeo-Christian or whatever religion you are talking about, that prevents everyone's available and equipped to do what a lot of these channelers and Katye Anna does. But we restrict ourselves or cut ourselves off based on our own beliefs and programming. So that's why it's necessary that we have a conversation about these things. And that leads me into particular my particular experience of when Katye asked me how it was for me. I always had a sense from the time that I can even remember. I had my earliest experiences. I believe I remember my birth, which we can go into earlier. Um, Now, I had several experiences growing up, but I was too fearful to even speak to anyone in my family about that because I thought they would think I was crazy and lock me up. And I didn't even know at an early age what that voice in my head was. I thought that chatter, I was the only one with that. And I thought I was crazy just having that voice in my head, and was afraid to ask anybody about that. And primarily, I was raised in a Jewish household, not terribly Jewish, but enough to have an identity of being Jewish, and recognizing that that separated me somehow from the rest of the people, whether that was chosen or special, that was up for interpretation. But more importantly, um, I was in this trap and loop of trying to figure out how to be loved by my family, and all the members of my family, which at the time I did not know was taking me down a road of frustration, and really was not possible because it was all based on conditional love. One, it was, I trade you very much love. If you're a good boy, we'll love you this much. If you get good grades, we'll love you this much.
Wow.
And of course, um, I really didn't know how to fall into line and do all those things. But I always knew that something was not right here. It just didn't feel like alignment to me.
When you
And
said you found it hard to fall into line, did you have a rebel? Like I deal with archetypes. Were you a rebel?
yes, sometimes not consciously and sometimes consciously. To tell you the truth, it was really more, I know this now, it was really more of me creating this victim mentality. So I was creating these life situations to see if I could be loved, in spite of doing certain things and not falling in line, because falling in line wasn't working for me either. Um, Having said that, I didn't recognize that this was all a curriculum, and this is a very this life school that we are all in right here on this planet is a very difficult curriculum. I was not aware of all the other family dynamics, which mostly everybody goes through. Uh, my parents didn't have a good marriage. My mother had a catastrophic illness for 6 years and passed away very young. So my family always fought. You had to pick a side. There was just so much going on at a young age. And then all of a sudden, at a young age, at 13, I was left alone. and not having anyone to talk to, not any having one to get some comfort from, not anyone to guide me. And that led me somehow into reading and saying there's got to be another way. I must be missing something. There's a missing component here, and I wanted to find it. And that led me, and it was the beginning stages of me becoming a scholar and reading and getting my hands on all the information I could. I just want to point out it's so much easier today. Just the fact that we are accessible to people, the internet and YouTube. Um, Everyone has their own path, and you will take your own journey. But the consciousness is open now. It's more open and accessible to everybody. And Katie, you can and will speak to this in our further shows, that uh, the availability of this, just to get a glimmer for somebody, just to hear something, will open doors for you like never before. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, like I said, we're living in amazing times right now. So,
Yeah, in the universe as well, not spiritually speaking, not only in technology, but the combination of those two combined is making it very interesting times. Correct?
yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So it sounds like part of your journey. I'm hearing a backlash in my voice. No, I'm sounding okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like part of your journey. You used the word victim, and I can tell you that I felt like a victim up until I was 38. I lived my life by victim and martyr. Yeah. And so you started reading, you started searching.
I started searching, and ultimately I didn't know it at the time. I was questioning God. Um, I do want to point out one of the primary elements, besides being living in victim consciousness, which is my reason for being here or agreeing to come back to this curriculum. The other dominant feature to my growing up was the prominence of fear. I was afraid of everything and everyone, both for my physical conditioning. I grew up with physical parents. If you did something wrong, you got hit. If you did something wrong, you got yelled at. If you didn't do well in school, there were always consequences. So I was afraid of that fear. I was afraid of the unknown. I knew there was something out there, but I didn't really know what it was. And of course, my religious background, even though I was Jewish, I went to a Catholic school for my first 6 or 7 years before I went into public school. So I had some knowledge about that, but felt ostracized and different because I was Jewish. So there was all these conflicting messages going on around me, and I did not have the consciousness to sort this out. And I did not have the courage to sort it out. So it just got me into reading. It got me into experimenting with substances, drugs at an early age, and things like that. And but it was really more as trying to search for a different a different consciousness. It wasn't that I was looking to numb myself. I was open to anything, and that's how that really played out. Now, having said that, as a young man, as I became unhappier and unhappier, as I kept letting down my family, I just want to point out I've never been married. That doesn't fly well in the Jewish family arena. I've never had children, and it kept on being forced on me. This is how you'll be happy. You need to go to school. You need to get a degree. You need to get married. You need to have children. That was the recipe, and I knew that was not for me. I don't know how I found the courage to resist that and go my own way. That made it difficult as well. You saw that,
I'm
lady?
sorry. They're saying there's an echo.
Do you
Go
have
ahead,
two
Todd. Keep
devices
talking.
open?
I'm trying to close everything off. Todd, keep talking
I
while I'm trying to
appreciate you.
figure this out. They're saying there's an echo.
Okay, we're just trying to work on a small technical issue to
Yeah.
fix
Does
the
that do it?
feedback problem
Am I
that
okay now?
some of you
I'm not hearing the echo anymore. Is that okay now?
waiting for the control room. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So Todd, our journeys were so different, and yet we found
Indeed.
each other.
Yes,
But we
indeed.
both lived victim.
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
We both lived victim for most of our lives.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I there was an undeniable sense as I spoke about that there was another way. There was something available to um, help me navigate this curriculum. I didn't know it was a curriculum at the time. And quite frankly, I didn't even know what the point of this iteration was. I really was all that. I was not enamored with life. I thought it was cumbersome. I thought it was painful. Losing people, relationships, everything about it was very, very difficult for me. I can't speak about that for you, but I know just based on some of your experiences.
I had my first baby when I was 16 years old. My second when I was 18. So Cece wants to take a break. So we'll take a break and see if we can figure out this sound thing.
Okay, we're going to break for a commercial. We'll be back shortly. Thank you for joining us on the new streaming network. It's Katye Anna and Todd. We'll be back with you shortly. Thank you. All right, it looks like we're back. Again, we are Katye Anna and Todd, and we are coming to you on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. And this is Conscious Creating with Katye Anna and Todd. Thank you for joining us.
So even though our lives were very different, I mean, I was raised with unconditional love. I was raised around aunts and uncles, and I was just so blessed to have family community. Now that didn't always be easy though. Okay, Cece told me to pop out and come back on. So Todd, you're in charge right now.
Okay. As we wait for Katie to come back, I will just share something from my own experience that, again, I had a sense even though that this love was conditional, that we are all here to experience and share and connect in love, whether it be conditional love or unconditional love. That took me a long time to understand the difference of that. And more importantly, to recognize that this is an essential part of all of our journeys, because in all spiritual teachings, the predominating consciousness that we are all seeking, coming from, created from, remembering, connecting back to, is love. This all-encompassing love, no judgment, no sin, no wrong, no right. That love is all there is, and that yes, we make a mistake from time to time, and that's how we learn in this third density life of stubbing your toe and stumbling through certain life experiences. Whether we marry somebody that may not be the ultimate partner, we learn what the mistake was and what we really rather have in a partner, and hopefully learn and move on. However, our true nature, our when we connect with our breath, that peace and stillness that comes to us when we turn inward, is coming from a source of unconditional love and something greater than our 3D curriculum and experience that we are here. We are souls, and we are spiritual beings having a human experience and trying to meld that together in this curriculum so that we, I believe, may advance and learn quicker so that we can expedite our ascension. Welcome back, my dear friend.
Hopefully this will work now. Oh, it still has it. Go
You
ahead,
still
Todd.
hear the feedback?
There's still an echo for me.
Okay.
Um, you were talking about unconditional love. I believe that starts with ourselves. Looking in the mirror and saying, I love you.
I was chatting a bit about, I agree with you that that is the curriculum we are here for, to learn and remember our true nature. That's what we came from. We agreed to forget our true nature so that we could experience the contrasts of this third density experience that we're in right now, and to make mistakes and become aware and more open to not right or wrong, not good or bad, but what it is like in this third density when we forget our true nature and where we come from, which is unconditional love.
Very true. However, we never forget, we never agreed to forget that we were spiritual beings.
So
No,
my
no one
under
ever said to me when I was a little girl, Katie, you are divine, beautiful child of the Creator. And you have within you the spark of your soul. You know, by the time we are 6 years old, we are so programmed. And unless you look at that program, you're still operating from a 6-year-old mentality.
Absolutely. No question about it. That's what creates the veil. Our beliefs, our programming.
Beliefs are everything, isn't it?
They're
You
prophetic
believe it
and
and you tell
creative.
yourself the story long enough, you're going to create it.
And it's a Herculean task, and it really has to resonate within your consciousness in this curriculum, that you know that there's another way, that you want to ascend this and live a different life. And the only thing that I could say about my pedigree in being a scholar is that my spirituality is my number one priority. It became clear to me that I could not dabble in it, that I knew there was another way, but I had to prioritize that in my life and everything I do. And everything else had to take a back seat to that, because I would just be
Unlike
living not true
you,
to my nature.
I've had a lot of wonderful relationships. And I've been blessed to be deeply in love. But I always tell those people that I'm in love with that my first relationship was with God. That's the first most important relationship to me. Now I'm not talking about the God of religion, but that's a whole other subject that maybe we don't want to get into today.
I'm sure it will pop up many, many times in the future, God willing, no pun intended. And I just want to point out that part of the problems with, well, it's all about relationships, but I just want to talk slightly about female and male relationships. Again, it's our beliefs of what the perfect relationship is supposed to be. And I have heard over the years, when you're in love, you think your partner completes you. And that really is a dangerous piece of thin ice you're walking on. One, it puts a lot of pressure on your partner to be the perfect partner, that it's got to complete you. Two, we have our higher power, as you mentioned too, also, and nobody can fill that role. So um, I'm not the expert on relationships, obviously, but as a scholar, I would tell you what we're looking for is to be complemented, to mesh together, to have a good union together, but not for somebody to complete you.
I had to learn to love myself first. I had to learn that I didn't need to be in relationship with someone. I wanted to be.
And I had that awareness. And while I knew that I did not want children, which is not common, but it's not for everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of people are in relationships with having children. I I knew without knowing that I did not love myself, and I would not be able to fulfill my part in that relationship with the wonderful gals that I had met at the time, because I had so much work to do on myself. And I didn't have the courage to explain. I couldn't explain it, quite frankly, like I'm explaining it now. So I was living this false persona. So outwardly, I was pretending to be somebody, but it was all facade.
It does take courage to let someone love you.
Agreed. I No
Marianne
question about that.
Williamson has a beautiful book out. It's an old book, Enchanted Love. And in that book, she says, I stand before my beloved totally nude, with all my scars and blemishes. Dare you love me anyway? Dare you love me just as I am?
It has nothing to do with the material. It has nothing to do with the physical. It's a soul connection that you have been fortunate to have. I don't feel that I have missed that. It has helped me strengthen my relationship with my higher power in putting that first and foremost for me. And it has helped me reconnect with myself and become more gentler with me, beginning with liking myself, transitioning into loving myself. So it has been beneficial.
Well,
Well,
I can say for
I can
me,
say for me,
I have really
I
expanded
have really expanded
spiritually when I've been in
spiritually
love,
when I've been in love
because I end up
because
falling
I
in
end
love
up
with
falling
men
in
that
love with
are
men that are
connected to the source
connected to the
themselves.
source. So
I'm really attracted to
I'm
the
really
truth
attracted
energy.
to the people.
And so when you put that in
So
a
when you put that in
relationship,
a relationship,
man, it's
man,
amazing.
it's amazing.
So
You know,
there's all these
there's all
pathways,
these pathways,
but I know for
but I
myself,
know for myself,
falling in love
falling in love
and
and
letting someone see
letting
me, really
someone
see
see me,
me,
really see me,
has been
it
amazing.
has been amazing.
You've done it solo,
You've
and
done it
yet
solo, and yet
you've given me
you've
so much in
given
our
me so much
relationship.
in our relationship.
You know,
You know,
and
and
maybe I'm
maybe
wrong,
I'm wrong,
but I think you're
but
afraid
I
of
think you're afraid
relationship.
of relationships.
That kind of
That kind
relationship.
of relationship.
I don't know if I would label it as fear. I'd have to say you're probably spot on in a certain aspect that I'm not all that experienced in it. So it would take a lot to do that. However, my experiences now is trying to extend with love coming from me towards everything I do,
Mhm.
everything I say, everyone I am with, and make it a worldly, universal type of love. And I believe that's my path for now. And I believe that will show up in other ways, in many ways, in all relationships.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Again, we're so
Again,
blessed to be
we're so
living
blessed to
during
be
this
living
time of the
during
great
this
shift,
time of great shift.
and that's why
And that's
conversations
why
like this can
conversations
happen.
like this can happen.
We are two very
We are
different
two
people
very
from two
different
different,
people, two
very
different,
different paths,
very different paths,
and yet our
and
souls know
yet
each
our
other
souls
well.
know each other well.
I'm very excited about being able to have these conversations. I want to thank everybody. We're going to be closing in a few minutes, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us who have been with us. I want to thank everybody for your comments. They've been greatly appreciated. I'm very heartened that people are joining us in the present, and if you're joining us on a recording, thank you for that as well. And I am so looking forward on a weekly basis, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can join in with us, and next week hear from Katye Anna. And once again, I am Todd of the Katye and Anna part, and my dear friend Katye Anna on the East Coast.
And we've been broadcasting from newstreamingnetwork.com, home of going solo and
WGSN.
going gold.
And thank you
Thank
to
you all
Cece
for
as
listening.
well.
Love you, Todd.
So good to be with you, my dear friend. Looking forward to next week. Love you.
All right.